it is not possible for him to be the Antichrist because I'm still here. I want you to think about that. If the Antichrist was here today, you would not believe that that was him because you weren't raptured out of here. So today I need you to open up your mind, okay? This is not an argument. This is not a doctrine. This is just, I want to give you all of the information so you can understand all sides about it. You know, if we're researching a subject in the world, we want to know everything about it before we make our own decision on it. Well, if you only studied and know one way, but there are just as many people that believe two other ways, isn't it smart to understand both of those and try to figure out what they're saying and then make up your own mind? So that's what I want to help you with today, okay? I'm not making up your mind for you. I want you to look into this on your own, okay? There are three schools of thought on the rapture of the church. There's actually four. The fourth one that I would talk about would be, there's a group of people that believed in 70 AD that was the end times of Revelation that John wrote about. I actually had a guy, we were studying it back and forth, kicking it around, and I was really like, wow, you know, I have a teachable spirit, so I want to learn. And so I'll listen to anything, and then I'll go sit down and research it on my own, right? And so as I'm researching, I'm like, wait a minute. John didn't write this book till 90 AD. This happened in 70 AD. That whole thing's washed out. It can't even be. John wouldn't have wrote about a dream that he had in 90 AD on something that had happened 20 years before. That just doesn't make sense. So the three schools of thought are a pre-tribulation, a mid-tribulation, and a post-tribulation rapture. And you will sit here and tell me which one you believe. Right now, you're already saying, well, the other guys are idiots. Well, they're really not, right? I know people who will argue all three that are some of the most brilliant, studied men that I've ever met in my life. And they can argue all three. I can actually argue all three. I can actually pull out my Bible and argue all three for you right down the line. And I can make you believe all three of them. I can give you scripture to believe all three of them. And I can give you an argument to believe all three of them, okay? I'm not going to do that today. So let's just go over them briefly. There's one of them that's the pre-trib that they say, well, there's a great tribulation for 7 years. And we will be raptured out right before the Antichrist comes onto the scene. So they'll tell you today that we could be raptured this minute, in the morning, tomorrow, it doesn't matter, raptured out because the Antichrist is about to come on the scene. Okay? And we've never been closer than right now. You need to go back and look at my other videos on the peace plan. That peace plan is on the table. All right? So the mid-trib believes, well, the Bible says that there's a 7-year tribulation. Yes, there's a time of 7 years, but only 3.5 years is the Great Tribulation. The first 3.5 years, there's peace. So there's a war of Revelation 9, starting verse 13, and there's a war that kills 1/3 of mankind, okay? And it doesn't have to be just a war. It could be, you know, there's some things in the deal. There's like, look at our magnetic pole, how much it's shifting. We could see a magnetic pole shift, which I believe we've had before. I believe in the time of the Egyptians, if you look at the pole, it was exact with them. So this is a fact. It's not a conspiracy. It's not a joke. The poles have shifted multiple times, okay? That could be part of it, which is why the mammoths had food still in their mouth when they froze to death. That could be part of it. The Clovis people were killed because of that. That could be part of it. So another part of it is just absolute war. Another part of it could be a nuclear war where there's tons of EMPs and then people are killing each other, right? This war that kills 1/3 of mankind, 2.5 billion people, is prophesied in the Bible, and it's about to happen, okay? I don't know when, but it's about to happen. Happens before this peace treaty or right after it, okay? Then there's 3.5 years of peace. The Antichrist comes on and he causes peace, all right? The temple is built, the third temple. It's prophesied that it'll be built. Right now, the Jews have this in Trump's contract to be built, and they're ready to build and share the Temple Mount. It's actually some Bible reasoning that is very possible, that their Dome of the Rock can be in there with the temple in the Gentile court, and the temple be, the Holy of Holies, be exactly where it was. The Jews have all of this ready. They have all of the utensils ready, the altar ready. I think they sacrificed last year in 2018 for the first time. So all of this is ready. It's done. Okay, they're just waiting on Bibi Netanyahu to sign this, and the Antichrist will be a part of signing this. The beast is done. It's all there. Everything's there. Look at my previous video. It's all ready to happen right now. So the mid-trib believes after that 3.5 years of peace, whenever he takes over the temple, then the church is raptured out. Then the post-tribulation, they get theirs off of Revelation chapter 20. It says, those who were killed, now Jesus has already come back. Those who were killed in the tribulation, beheaded in the tribulation, they come back, they reign with Christ for 1,000 years, and then the dead in Christ are raised. Okay? So they believe that's the rapture, okay? But it doesn't happen till Jesus is back. Now, I don't care what you believe. I want you to consider this. The greatest lie that the devil would have ever told was there would be a rapture of the church. And how many of you, because the Bible says that that the Antichrist will deceive even the very elect. Well, there's no mistake that the very elect that he's talking about in Revelation right there is the church and the church leaders, okay? So how in the world would he deceive the church and the church leaders? And how does he get this huge following of Christians, so-called Christians, to follow him, right? Well, I've heard a lot of different arguments. Well, it's only the Catholics that are going to follow him. The Catholics will say, no, it's only the Protestants that are going to follow him. And then, you get some that it's everybody else but the Mormons. It's everybody else but the Church of Christ. No. The two witnesses will come on, and they're preaching Jesus. The Antichrist is preaching that he's the God. He deceives even the very elect of the church. One of the reasons that that's very possible for him to be able to do that is because you believed you were going to be raptured out of here. You held it so tight, you didn't consider the option that there might not be a rapture. See, you don't have to believe in the rapture to be raptured out. I've heard some people say that. So if there's a pre-tribulation rapture, okay, if you're on the trip to go to heaven, okay, if that's you and you're for sure going to heaven, you're going out at that time too, okay? Because the rapture is the part that Paul told us not to argue about, the stupid stuff that really doesn't matter. It's not what matters about Yeshua, and that's not what matters. That's small little petty stuff that we're just hoping for so that we don't have to go through any pain, okay? If it happens, great. That was a blessing. It was awesome. If it doesn't happen, though, you can't have your mind messed up by thinking that there's no way that guy's the Antichrist. It's not possible. So I can take that computer chip. I can take that brand because it's a cashless society now, and we're a part of his society. Look how they're going to word it to you. He's the king of the world. He's it. We're a part of his society, and to be a part of his society, you need a credit card. And that credit card now is this chip, or that credit card now is a tattoo or a burn, okay? That credit card it could be any of those things, but you're going to know that you took that as in saying he was the supreme leader, all right? So it's really, really important that you can keep your belief in a pre-trib, a mid-trib, or a post-trib. I don't care, but you need to understand them all so that you don't get caught with your pants down, because the worst thing that you could ever do, and listen, if you're a pre-trib guy and you have a heart to learn, go read Revelation chapter 20. Just read that whole chapter, come back and think about it, read it again, think about it, read it again, and say, dang it. Now, I'd encourage you to listen to two people, Perry Stone, because he's real pre-trib. You need to understand pre-trib. And Irvin Baxter. You really need to understand post-trib. You need to understand both of them, right? You're not a fulfilled student if you can't understand both of them. And I'm sick of the whole argument of somebody coming up and asking you a question, and you're like, well, it's just the way it is. Or the pastor told me. If you look at a pastor, I want you to think about this, okay? And I'm not dogging pastors here. But most mainstream pastors, it branched off. So you got the Catholics, then it branches off to Martin Luther, I know the Baptist thinks they were just the bloodline that went all the way across. You can look that up, and that's not true, okay? So Catholics, Peter was the first pope. Catholics go a little crazy. You break it off with Martin Luther. You break it off with the Protestants. Then you got Spurgeon. And then from Spurgeon, you got the health and wealth movement of like Wigglesworth. And then from there, you got the Kenneth Copelands. And you got the Jesse Duplanises. And listen, they're great men. They've done great things for this world. And I have no issues with them. But they learned under their college what they were taught, right? So this guy came up with this. I taught it to this guy, taught it to this guy, made a college, taught it to all of these people, and this is how it's supposed to be, okay? Whether you believe post-trib or pre-trib or mid-trib, you're believing that because somebody above you was taught that and they brought it down to you. The Bible says you work out your own salvation with fear and trembling, and you study to show yourself approved. You're not studying to say, well, I went to church today and this is what the preacher said and this is true. You're not studying to say that. You're studying when you can go. And I've went many a times. And you don't go with an evil heart. You go and you say, hey, pastor, I don't understand this. So explain this to me. And when he explains it, say, good. That's how I read it too. But when I read this part doesn't make sense. And if you got a good pastor who really has a teachable spirit and a good heart, he says, let's figure it out together, right? And I've had lots of preachers do that. Lots of them say, gosh, let's figure it out together. And guess what? We've changed the way that we did things together, right? I've changed the way that I believe on this as I get more educated on it. But in order to be educated on it, you've got to understand it all. So you don't just get to understand one portion of it and have that portion inside and out and not understand this side. For you to be able to argue something, you need to be able to understand both sides and argue both sides. So when you can argue pre-trib and you can argue post-trib and you can argue mid-trib, then you can come together and say, I have a real opinion about this. But if you can only argue pre-trib and anybody else is stupid, that doesn't fly. That doesn't work. If you can only argue post-trib and pre-tribbers are stupid, that doesn't work, okay? That is not studying, and that is not working out your own salvation. That is not biblical. So for you to land on one and not know them all, then that's not biblical. That is not how you're supposed to read the Bible. That is not how you're supposed to study. It's not what you were taught, okay? So it's very important that you understand this, and the whole reasoning is because it could be the greatest lie that the devil ever told, is that you followed the Antichrist because you thought you were supposed to be raptured. So there's no way he's the Antichrist. Anyway, guys, ponder on it.